It can seem like we are in the season of losses. 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their dog murdered, 2 others shot.
We'll add in other changes all around the world and can lead to feelings of helplessness about it. So how do we handle this grief? How do we cope? Here to talk about what that means is our relationship expert, Dr. Kirsten Lind Seal. Hey, how are you? Good morning.
Glad to be here. Good morning.
I think it's interesting that you use the word grief because we talk about, okay, you feel helpless, but I don't know that I would have associated grief with that. Why do you use that term?
Yeah, well, it's because I think as a society, we generally don't want to go down that road, right? It can feel, because it's a very difficult emotion. The fact is, we feel grief all the time around losses, both big and small. And one of the things that I think is really important, thinking about the work of David Kessler, who's an internationally known grief expert, he talks about this idea of being a grief leader. And one of the things about that that's so important is literally the first step, which sounds so simple, is to simply acknowledge and name the grief, right? I have multiple friends who are researchers who have lost funding, who have, many people in their studies, they were looking at in-home family visits, all these other kinds of really important things. And they're angry, they're upset, they're distressed. And then if I name the grief to them, though, that really pulls us down into the reality of what it's like for us. And there can be a real, weirdly, a comfort in saying, oh, that's what this is.
It's got to be, I feel like at least in Minnesota right now, there is this almost collective grief happening with everything that's happened as of late.
Yes.
But it's tough for others to be there for one another. And that's probably one of the most important things, just to show up and be there.
Yes, that's exactly right. People, and I include myself in this. I mean, my family and I lost a very dear friend very suddenly about a month ago. And it's so hard to know. I mean, I'm a therapist. I'm here talking about grief. I still struggle with what's the right thing to say. Here's what I know. One of the most important things to say is, I am so sorry about this. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I am here for you. I am sad with you. My heart breaks with you. Just witnessing someone's grief can be super helpful. And this is why we have memorials and rituals like this, as human beings, is because people get together and can be together and talk about the person or the thing that has happened. These rituals are really, really important for us.
So when you say grief leader, I think of, okay, you're gathering a group of people together, you're leading them into some sort of therapy session, but it sounds to me that no, what you're really talking about is just maybe even a one-on-one with a friend who might be struggling.
Yes, exactly. And, with that, it really helps to not sit. I mean, grief leader makes it sound like we're some sort of expert, and that's not what it means at all. Really what it means is saying, I'm human, you're human, we are here. We are really, really sad. We are grieving. We are mourning. There's sort of a formality around using words like that I think can be really profound. And basically being a leader, meaning going back to step one, acknowledging and naming that a very, very underlying feeling with all of this might be grief, because then it gives us permission to kind of frame it in a way that's helpful to us in terms of thinking about how our life is going, and thinking about collective grief. The other name for that is collective trauma. And I would argue that we are absolutely going through that in Minnesota. And one of the things we're grieving also is this sort of what's seeming like sort of an ongoing loss of certain norms, of behaviors, of certain things that we could expect. This is a deep, deep grief.
Can you talk about really quickly the importance of making sure you model grief, for example, young children? Like, I recently lost my dog, and I thought it was really important that my son see that grief so he understands how to process that, to set an example. Can you talk about why that is so important?
Yes. So, it used to be that the norm was more like, don't bring children to funerals or memorials. It's going to be too upsetting. But what happens is children really know something's going on.
Yeah.
They may not be able to have a real framework yet because they're children. So developmentally, they're not quite there yet. But there's lots of different ways. I mean, really just saying, I'm really sad. My dad died. I'm really sad. And then you might have to field questions from your son, like, well, does that mean you're going to die? Right. Like being able to and say, what are your beliefs? Yes, here's what we believe when we die, or we don't know what happens when we die. Whatever the family sort of narrative is around that, it's really important. That is a way to basically give our children tools for figuring out how to deal with these really very deep and important emotions that we're all going to have throughout life. So modeling grief is really important. So good work there, and I'm really sorry for your loss.
No, I appreciate it. But yeah, I think it's important to model that moving forward.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Kirsten, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.